network problem, the slide is not visible. Then these two people, you should have my mobile number also. I think Balpratap, you have my mobile number.
Yes, sir, I have.
And Utkars, you can give my mobile number to Utkars also. So on behalf of the whole class, these two people, they can communicate me. So during class time or after class time, anytime if there is any connectivity problem, so you please, Utkars and Bal Pratap, both of them, they can communicate to me. And I have given you everything detail, course detail yesterday. So all of you have gone through. And
Yes,
I
sir.
think it's clear to everybody. So accordingly, so today is also unscheduled. So I have scheduled it because next week, Tuesday, I have a meeting in the ministry. So I will not be there next week, Tuesday, my scheduled time. So hopefully next week also I will take the class on Friday. And after that, we will follow the regular schedule, that is Tuesday. And for next week, Friday also, I will give you an email. But Tuesday, definitely, I am not taking class. That's why I plan to take the class today. Okay, so we will start.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, actually, I had a doubt. So, Professor Rangasamy and you will be taking it side by side, or will it be like you will first complete your part of the course?
What do you mean by side, please?
Because in the email it was written कि Professor Rangasamy will take it on Monday and you will take it on Tuesday. So
Yes. Yeah.
so
Every Monday he will take. Every Tuesday I will take.
sir, actually, some of us had the concern that it would make the course confusing because on one day we are studying fiber part and the other day we're studying fabric part.
Yeah. We have been teaching like this for last 15 years.
Okay, sir.
Even the same thing you will find in theory of textile structure also. 1 week Professor Ishtiaq and alternate week yarn part by some faculty and fabric part by some faculty. So I will be taking your fabric part, theory of textile structure, every alternate week.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Because the yarn and fabric goes side by side. If you do one course, let's say for 1 month time and 1.5 months time, then after few days, then it's a problem. The question is, right now it is not possible because we have a minor. You understand? One minor.
Yes,
so one
sir.
minor means the minor should have equal weightage of yarn and fabric. Similarly, major should have equal weightage of yarn and fabric. If only one teacher covers first, then the first minor will be only from the yarn. So there will be no minor from the fabric. You understand the problem?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
So that's why it's alternate. Every Monday, Professor Rangaswamy, every Tuesday I will be teaching. Only this week it is Friday and next week also it is Friday. After that, Monday, Tuesday. Okay.
And sir, can you please start the recording?
You want recording?
Yes, sir.
ये कैसे करते मुझे भी नहीं पता.
Sir, there are 3 horizontal buttons at the top. When you click on that, there is an option called Start Recording.
Okay, I will do it from next time. But why do you want to recording? You have to write the course.
Sir, because
Everything will be shown
because
to you.
sometimes there might be internet connection issues and the connection may get disconnected.
When they these slides are there. Okay, we'll start recording from the next class. I'll do that. Don't worry. So full screen is visible now. Bal Pratap.
Yes, sir, full screen video.
Yes, sir.
So today's discussion is about review of fabric manufacturing system. It's just a review what you have done so far. From the next class, we will start your syllabus. But this is a part of syllabus also. Review of fabric manufacturing. Look at journey of textile innovation, particularly the fabric development. Textile was used initially as a basic need for human being. You must have heard about roti, kapda and makan. Then textile became a tradition and culture of the society. After that, textile dominate fashion, or you can say fashion dominate textile. Then we developed textile for functionality. Today we have a different shorts for summer, winter, or we have some special dress like wrinkle free, antimicrobial, or we need something to wear at very high altitude where the temperature is minus 30 or minus 40 degrees Celsius. That's called functional garment, functional clothing. We need a functional fabric also. Okay, so that's called looking for functionality. Nowadays the trend is looking for functionality, and need of specialty fabric is nothing but functionality cloth. It's not simply what we have been so far taught. That is, it's not just warp and weft. It's not just simply plain fabric or twill fabric or satin fabric. We want to develop some special fabric for some special applications, not really only apparel, some technical textiles. So that will be the first area in this semester. Apart from normal apparel fabric, what other special textiles we manufacture? That will be the topic of discussion in this course. So when I say specialty in terms of fiber, yarn, fabric construction, manufacturing process, post-weaving treatment, or giving some functionality to the fabric, or could be multifunctional fabric, and also some specialty keeping in mind the applications. So one can introduce specialty in the fabric in one or many ways out of these different methods. Either use some special fiber or special yarn or anything written is here. One can choose one or more out of these alternatives to introduce some specialty in the fabric. Look at what is the journey. We started fabric like this. This was the fabric in time. People were wearing leaves and bark of the tree to protect themselves from external environment, heat, rain, cold, etc. So it is just to protect human being or human body from extraordinary environmental conditions. Then people started learning how to make fabric, which is almost 6,000 years old. The first fabric manufacturing started in Egypt almost 6,000 years ago. And you can see some of the picture how weaving was taking place at that time. Then we started street weaving. This weaving still exists in India. Street weaving. Look at the lady weaving her fabric, putting warp sheet on the road, then handloom was developed. This is a basic machine where we have only shading, picking and wet up. That's all, nothing else. And all three operations manual. Then systematic handloom weaving machine. It's not only shading, picking and bit up, but some more extra mechanism, maybe let off and take up, so that uniformity in texture of the fabric can be maintained. Then almost 200 years ago, the power loom came into existence. So people learn weaving by machine operated by power. Then all modern technologies in weaving were discovered. Projectile, rapier, air jet, water jet, multi-phase, triaxial, multi-axial, circular and 3D weaving. So far you have been taught projectile, rapier, air jet, water jet. From there we will discuss sometimes later multi-phase, triaxial, multi-axial, circular and 3D weaving. From the next class we will start 3D weaving first. So what was our projectile which you have learned? This technology is almost now obsolete, although it is a shuttleless loom. It is completely obsolete now. It's no more commercially viable technology. Only few people are using this technology. The exception what is written here, large width fabric. This technology enables to produce a fabric up to 15 meter width. These fabrics are used for movie screen or sailcloth or geotextiles, where we need the width of fabric very, very large. Otherwise, from weaving economics point of view, this projectile is almost obsolete now. It's no more financially, technically or techno-commercially viable. Then you have been taught rapier weaving. So this fabric, this technology is still dominant in the market, particularly for heavy fabrics. This is the technology which can produce woven cloth up to 5 kg per square meter. We call 5000 GSM, gram per square meter. This is the only technology by which you can produce or you can weave a fabric up to 5000 gram per square meter. No other weaving technology can produce such a heavy fabric, and that's why this technology is predominantly used for producing technical textiles. Then air jet weaving, we call this technology a future weaving, because at present this is the most dominant weaving technology which gives you highest productivity. Highest, when I say highest productivity, means weft insertion rate, WIR. With this technology can go 3000 per minute. Remember, weaving productivity is always expressed in terms of meters per minute. We call it WIR, weft insertion rate. Never express loom productivity by picks per minute, because picks per minute is influenced by width of the loom. Larger is the width, lower is the speed. Smaller is the width, higher is the speed. So weaving speed or weaving productivity is always expressed in terms of WIR, weft insertion rate, which is expressed in terms of meters per minute. And air jet weaving is the largest WIR machine so far. There are machines in which you can weave at a rate of 3000 meters per minute or even more. Then came water jet weaving. This weaving system has huge potential, but unfortunately, this technology does not allow to handle sized warp yarn. Normally, most of our cotton yarns or spun yarns we weave after sizing. But if the warp yarn is sized, then you cannot use this sized yarn in this loom. So I am not going into detail because what it is presumed you know up to this all weaving technology, what I said briefly. Projectile, rapier, air jet and water jet. So because of its water problem, this technology is only confined to filament weaving, where we don't go for sizing. This is in your syllabus. In future I will be teaching this in detail. It's called multi-phase weaving. Although commercially this technology is no more in operation, but this is a foolproof technology. It is not in operation, means commercially this machine is not being produced nowadays anywhere in the world because of some technical reason. That we will discuss when we will discuss particular topic in future. But this is a well proven technology to produce fabric at weft insertion rate almost 6000 meters per minute. Highest speed 6000 meters per minute, very high speed. But as I said, this is no more in operation because of some technical constraint. That we will discuss in detail when we discuss this topic. So, to summarize, weaving till death. Textile industry is almost 7,000 years old. Systematic handloom came almost 2000 years ago, and gradually you can see all the technology came. The year mentioned against their name. The last technology which has been used for technical textiles is 3D weaving, which we will start from next class. Two more points you can observe here. The point written in blue, subtle loom completely disappeared from international market in year 1987. Means after 1987, the subtle loom was not displayed in International Textile Machinery Exhibition. It's called ITMA, which is being held once in every 4 years in Europe. Last ITMA was held 2019 in Barcelona. So, contrary to this point, what is written at last, subtle loom reappeared again in 2011 in International Textile Machinery Exhibition because of some reason. Because this subtle loom, which was completely discontinued, again reappeared in International Textile Machinery Exhibition market because this loom is used to produce certain technical textile which we cannot do it in subtlest loom. It's a different matter. In India, still more than 60% of the fabric is being produced on subtle loom. More than 60%. No developed country uses subtle loom because of high labor cost, low productivity and low efficiency. But in India, because many weaving activity is a rural activity, it's a domestic activity. In handloom, in power loom, in different type of design loom, khadi. So many things are being used in different parts of this country. That's why total almost more than 60, it's almost 65% of the total fabric produced in this country are still being produced on these subtle loom. Okay, so this is what has happened so far. Look at this diagram, it's very interesting. See, this tiny insect is weaving. The technology which is used is a very, very difficult technology. I am sure you have not seen such kind of loom in which the warp yarns can be placed radially and the weft yarn can be interlaced in concentric circle. So the structure which is made by this insect is radial and spherical type of structure. There are some technology available nowadays, but not exactly like this. Circular weaving we'll discuss, but not like this really. So this was the first inspiration from this insect to start weaving technology, interlacement of warp and weft to make fabric. And this insect has made this structure for its own requirement. It wants to trap its prey. So the point is, what I am saying is, the title of this slide is written Fabric Engineering Concept. Means you need to develop a fabric in such a manner so that it fulfills your purpose. That's the reason why we study fabric engineering. More detailed information in this respect will be given to you in theory of fabric structure, in fabric part. But you can understand from this concept, from weaving, we need to devise specific type of warp and weft interlacement so that we can get desired fabric quality. That means we need to understand the orientation and planar dimension of constituent yarn in the fabric, because orientation of yarn, normally what you have seen, orientation of yarn in warp and weft direction, orthogonally, 90 degree to each other. But we have technology in which we can orient yarn in any direction, at any angle. And not only at any angle or any orientation in one plane, we can also orient in different plane. That means a yarn can be oriented in third dimension, in z-axis, that is in thickness direction, which we will discuss in detail in case of 3D weaving. But this is the concept from where you can imagine how the engineering concept of fabric came from this small tiny insect. All the shuttleless loom which you have been taught, the technology was conceived starting from 1844 till date, and the year of design, patent and commercial production is also given here. So just, it's difficult to remember, you can just, the few points you can remember here. All shuttleless loom concept came starting from 1844. The last shuttleless technology concept came 1998, almost 22 years now, because since last 22 years there is no new weaving technology. So 1998 is the last year for development of any weaving technology. Still we are continuing with these technologies. This is the point you should remember. At what rate we can weave. Subtle loom, I have already told you WIR, weft insertion rate, meters per minute. This is the correct unit to express loom productivity, weaving productivity. Please remember this. With subtle loom, we can go maximum 650 meters per minute. Rapier loom, 1460 meters per minute. Projectile 1500. Air jet, something between 2800 to 3800. Water jet 2600. Multi-phase, I have told you highest one, 5500 meters per minute. What is not given here is handloom, because handloom has no speed. It depends who is spinning, who is weaving. If he is a healthy man, maximum a healthy man can weave at a maximum weft insertion rate of about 300 meters per minute, almost half the subtle loom. Here subtle loom means power driven subtle loom. The loom is running with motor. But this subtle loom, if it is operated by a human being, and if a person or weaver is healthy person, he can maximum insert 300 meters per minute weft insertion rate. And rest is given here. So in last 35 years, all the developments which you see in subtleness loom, which you have also come across, is mainly because of not the basic fundamental of weaving technology, but introduction of electronics, microprocessor, IT and computers in weaving technology. That means the basic principle of weft insertion, warp and weft interlacement is same which was conceived 7,000 years ago. Weaving means interlacement of warp and weft. Interlacement of warp and weft concept came 7,000 years ago, and even today we are doing the same thing. What has really, or what development has taken place is only we have been able to produce the fabric at a faster rate, and of course you will find the latter better fabric, means fabric with minimum defects. And that has been possible because of electronics, microprocessors, information technology, computers, and you will find something automation and robotics. Only these things have helped to produce or to give high productivity and better quality. So today the situation is, at what speed? So what is the maximum speed you can run a weaving machine? The speed is limiting strength of yarn. I will show a result relating to this just 5 to 10 minutes after. Remember, speed of a weaving machine can be limiting strength of yarn. It is not the limiting strength of the machine. We can run the machine as long as the yarn can sustain the stress. We have to limit our speed, because beyond that speed yarn will break. Then width, ribbon to movie screen, I have already told you. In projectile loom you can weave up to 1500 meters width fabric, and nowadays you have lot of option to insert many colors, different type of yarn, different type of fabric weight up to 5000 gram per square meter, and different type of structure which you have come across in CAD system, fabric weaving design. We can produce any design on a weaving CAD. So what we have achieved so far, downtime because of automation. Downtime means stop time, which basically helps us to calculate efficiency. quick information system means your loom can be connected or networked with a computer with the help of a bidirectional communication. Means any defect is coming during weaving on the loom can be fed to computer, and your software or your expert system can give necessary correction measures to the machine so that the machine can be corrected. That's called bidirectional communication. Defect information comes from the machine to the computer. Computer programming gives solution what measures to be taken on the machine so that the machine can run to give best possible performance. Fabric quality close to zero defect. So there is a meaning of zero defect. There is a slide for zero defect which we will discuss later. Economy, all possible measures have been taken to weave at a most profitable manner. Market is buyer's market. In textile you must have observed it is a completely buyer's market. Means producers are many, sellers are many, buyers are very few. So there is a huge gap between demand and the supply is too much, demand is too less nowadays. You just go through these. We are not going to discuss these. These are automations which you are supposed to learn in your previous class. Lot of automation has taken place in the loom. These are some of the automations. Starting mark, electronic weight insertion control, automatic pick finder. So you are supposed to know all these automations which has taken place on the weaving machine. Few more. So there are many automations, and we are not supposed to discuss in this course, but you are supposed to know this. Okay. I hope you have heard about this. If not, try to remember. Interesting development in weaving. We call it quick style chain, SQC or QWC. Quick style chain system, QWC, quick work chain system. What it is, try to understand. It is not in every loom in India. Very few weaving mills have this facility. Whenever your work yarn is exhausted in weaver's beam, then the loom stops about 2 to 8 hours depending on the management capability of the industry. So that in this period, the previous exhausted loom is taken out, new full beam is replaced, the warp yarns are drawn, knotted, and loom restarts. This complete operation normally takes minimum 2.5 hours. It can take even 8 hours, 10 hours, or even in some mills 1 day. That means for this period, when we change the weaver's beam, put a new beam for weaving, the loom is stopped. That means we suffer lot as far as productivity is concerned. To take care of this problem, there is a development, it's called quick style chain system. What it happens, in this technology, your weaving machine is divided into two parts. I repeat, your weaving machine is divided into two parts. If you know every part of the weaving machine, then try to remember the weaver's beam, backrest, lead rod, field eye, stop motion pin drops, reed is one part of the machine, remaining are other parts. I repeat, when this system is in operation in any weaving machine, what do we do? Weaver's beam, backrest, lead rods, heel dies, reed dents, complete reed, then drop wires for stop motion. This become one part, remaining weaving machine another part. So what do we do? This part is kept separately as a spare. Just like we have a spare tire in the car. If one tire gets punctured, we replace it. Similarly, this part which I told you is a spare part kept ready outside. When the previous beam is exhausted, then this new setup is replaced and it takes only 30 minutes. And loom restarts. That means we save huge time. Instead of stopping the machine for 8 hours, just in 30 minutes, the weaving starts. So we maintain the productivity and efficiency. That's called style change and work change system is a very, very interesting development for high productivity and efficiency. This is another chronic problem in weaving. I don't know whether you have entered to any loom shed in any industry. If the loom shed is shuttle loom, the noise level goes 92 to 107 decibel. Rapier, projectile, air jet, water jet. Water jet is the least noise creator because it is water which is a lubricant. When water comes out from the jet, which you must have seen in the lab, so it makes minimum noise. Our safe zone as far as human ear is concerned is 70 decibel. Means any noise beyond 70 decibel disturbs your hearing system. All weaving technology is a disturbing element as far as our hearing system is concerned. So this is also another chronic problem in weaving. Every manufacturer wants to minimize or reduce the noise level as minimum as possible. Another important point in weaving, energy consumption. So this is a standard typical values of energy consumed per kg of fabric production. Shuttle loom 1.8 kilowatt hour per kg. Gripper means projectile, rapier, air jet and water jet. As you can see here, water jet is the lowest energy consumer. Air jet is the largest energy consumer because it's not the air jet loom which is consuming this energy. It is the compressed air. To run air jet loom, we need to have a compressor. So compressed air helps in weft insertion. Creation of compressed air with a compressor consumes maximum energy. That's why the energy consumption in air jet loom is 3.2 kilowatt hour per kg, which is largest among all the weaving technology. Weft yarn waste. This is another important point to remember. Which technology creates maximum waste, particularly weft yarn? As you know, in shuttle loom, there is no weft waste because shuttle takes weft yarn from one side to other side and comes back. No weft yarn is wasted. But if you are weaving with projectile, air jet, rapier, then your weft is caught in both the sides. We lose some weft yarn in every pick, and this is given a tentative figure. Value loss. First understand what is value loss. I'll give you an example. Value loss means, for example, you want to produce a fabric. In every mill, whenever a fabric production starts, there is a department called PPC, Production Planning and Control. The job of production planning and control department, before weaving starts, they first calculate what will be the cost of production of that particular fabric. Let's say they calculate the cost of production for this particular fabric, let's say per meter is 200 rupees. Then, depending on the credential of the company is able to sell the same cloth in the market, let's say at 250 rupees per meter. Cost of production is 200, sales price is 250. So the company makes 50 rupees per meter. This calculation is made before the fabric production starts. As you know, in every weaving, there will be some defect, there will be some loss, there will be some damage. So when after weaving the fabric scale starts, the actual value realization of that fabric, instead of 250, it goes 230. Company is able to sell at 230 rupees per meter. So company was supposed to sell at 250 rupees per meter. Now company is able to sell same fabric at 230 rupees because of some reason I told you. Maybe defect, maybe loss, maybe productivity loss, maybe efficiency loss, whatever reason. That means losing 20 rupees in 250 rupees. You calculate what is the percentage. That percentage is value loss. And this value loss, if you are weaving on non-automatic loom, is 8 to 10%. If you are weaving on automatic loom, 5 to 8%. If you are weaving on shutterless loom, this value loss is 2 to 3%. Fabric defect. Remember one thing, defect free, 100% defect free fabric production is 100% impossible. Whenever there is one weaving operation, a defect is bound to be killed. But what we can do is, by taking several measures, we can minimize the defect. And this is the situation in the last 50 years. In year 1970, after taking all possible measures technological, the fabric defect used to come about 17 per 100 meter. 17 number, these are 17 number of major defects per 100 meter when the weaving was taking place in year 1970, 50 years ago. Today, this figure 2010 and 2020, there is no difference between 2010 and 20 because there is no such development has taken place in weaving so far in last 10 years or even last 20 years also. But anyway, today the defect level has gone down to only 2 defects per 100 meter. So look at, there is a huge development because of development in technology, development in machine, development in material, development in weaving practice, development in training, development in automation and what not. All these have resulted production of high quality fabric with minimum defects. Today the defect level is only number 2 number defect per 100 meter. These are major defects. This is another interesting development. We'll have a complete lecture in this if time permits towards the end of the semester. Automatic fabric inspection system. You know, after weaving, a fabric is inspected in an inspection machine. Conventional inspection machine is nothing but an illuminated glass table. So there is a glass table, slanting glass table. Light is falling on the table over the fabric. A person just watches, observes, and the fabric runs about 20 to 30 meters per minute speed. And whenever there is a defect found on the fabric, the person gives a mark at the defect point. And after the fabric is observed, then another person checks where the mark is given at the defective points and they try to remove that defect if the defect is mendable. If the defect is not mendable, then we have to cut the fabric at that point, creating a cut piece. This is the normal practice which we follow in textile industry. In this practice, even after inspecting a fabric 4 times, I repeat, in this practice means visual examination. Human being watching the fabric in his eyes, fabric is running at 20 to 30 meters per minute, and we see if there is a defect, we try to remove it or make a cut piece. So this practice results, if you carry out this inspection even 4 times to the same fabric, 25% of the defects goes undetected. The reason being, human eyes gets tired. A person works for 8 hours a shift in a day. It's very difficult to continuously watch fabric defect minutely. Some defects are in microns. So very difficult to see such defect and remove it. If you are looking at left hand side, right hand side, some defect is going. Even if you are looking into a defect but you are not detecting it, or sometimes there are defect you think is a defect, it is not a defect, or if you think it is not a defect but it is a defect. So because of this, there is a lot of difference in the targeted value and the actual value of defect. To remove this anomaly, this machine has been developed, what you see here in this slide. It's called automatic fabric inspection system, which works on the principle of optoelectronic system fabric inspection. Means a camera observes the fabric surface. The camera is connected to a computer with a software. Any defect coming in the fabric is detected by the camera, and the defect is digitized, and the digital information goes to the camera. A software is developed to analyze the defect, and if it finds the defect is objectionable, then the software gives a signal to a robotics marker. The marker gives a mark on the fabric. So in this manner, what happens? There is no chance of, because camera never makes mistake, because we train the camera we make a software. The software is trained to identify the defects. Means we assume if any defect or any change in size of particle is less than this dimension, it will consider as a defect. So this is an objective method of identifying fabric defects and taking necessary measures by this automation system. This is a very wonderful technology which has taken place, and very few mills in India have bought this technology for their fabric inspection, because it is very, very expensive. Each machine costs about 3 to 4 crores rupees. So if you are using this technology, what do we get? We get objective inspection, almost 100% inspection, consistent inspection. User set accept reject limit. User can say, okay, the defectable is beyond this, then I will not buy this cloth, and many other advantages of this system. This system has following capabilities. We run the machine at about 120 meters per minute. Means fabric we inspect 120 meters per minute. Fabric width practically no limit, because as the width of the fabric increases, the number of cameras will increase. Detect the fabric defect, anything starting from 300 micron. We don't need to see the defect below this 300 micron, because below 300 micron it is very difficult to be seen by human being. The illumination is consistent. Field of application so far is only to unicolor and patternless fabric. You cannot inspect by this machine any design fabric, any pattern fabric, because pattern will be recorded in this machine as a defect. So in this machine, you can only inspect single color fabric. maybe gray or maybe any color, monocolor fabric. Taking this data, one can have many statistical analysis for quality control. This system is very useful for quality control in industry. Okay, this is what benefit we get. This system gives you quality assurance. This system gives you quality certificate. This information can be used as a diagnostic tool for machine. Means if this is the type of defect, this is the number of defect, then you can take necessary measures in the back process so that your maintenance people can implement their program to manage this defect, to minimize this defect, to eliminate this defect. So these are three major benefits we get from this automatic fabric inspection system. This term I told you earlier. Now I want to define it. Try to remember. This is a very popular term in industry. Zero defect. When I say zero defect fabric, it doesn't mean the fabric has no defect. It is impossible. As I said, look at the last statement written at the bottom of this slide. 100% defect-free fabric production is 100% impossible.
Oh my.
Then what is zero defect fabric? If 100% defect-free fabric is 100% impossible, then what is zero defect fabric? Zero defect fabric is zero deviation between what is requested and what is supplied. My weaving plan is made to produce a fabric with 2 defects per 100 meter. If I get the same 2 defects per 100 meter after weaving, then I call it zero defect fabric. If I get 3 defects, then it's not zero defect. That's the concept of zero defect weaving. Zero defect means zero deviation between what is asked, means what is nominal, and what is actual. Okay, this is the concept of zero defect weaving. What a weavers want? What is the requirement of a weaver? Weaver wants to know what will be the water rate for giving yarn quality before actually yarn goes to load. Otherwise, there will be a defect. If you do not know what is the strength of yarn I need in my weaving, what is the defect level of my yarn I need to produce a given quality of fabric, then you cannot manage your weaving room. So weaver wants to be very sure before start that what yarn he wants to buy for a specific type of cloth in terms of strength, in terms of hairiness, in terms of extensibility, in terms of evenness, in terms of thick place, thin place, naps or imperfections, what you call. So every weaving mill or every weaver wants to be very sure what should be the quality parameter of his yarn before he starts weaving, means before he starts buying this yarn from the market. So what quality parameter you want to see? The quality parameter which are essential is a stronger yarn, smoother yarn, uniform yarn. Apart from this, we also need maximum possible elongation. Hairiness should be minimum. Abrasion resistance should be very, very high. Then our weaving process will be smooth. So the question is, as I said in the previous slide, stronger yarn. Does weaving need a strong yarn? This is a very important question. 2 slides I will show you. Try to analyze. Does weaving need a very strong yarn? Weaver is concerned about critical strength, but the absolute strength. What is critical strength? How critical strength is related to warp tension? See, weaving fundamentals suggest as the tension in warp yarn increases, break will increase. There is no difficulty in understanding this point. If tension in warp will increase, breakage in warp yarn will increase. So defect will be there. But now we have to understand why tension increases. Look at this slide. You go on increasing warp strength. Warp breakage reduces up to this point. Look at my cursor. Beyond this, even if you go on increasing your yarn strength, it doesn't make any difference as far as breakage is concerned. Breakage remains same. The curve gets flattened. What it shows, it is very clear now, there is no point to increase yarn strength beyond this point. If our objective of using stronger yarn to minimize warp breakage or to reduce warp breakage, then probably we don't need to use a yarn stronger than this point, because beyond this point, as you go on increasing strength, it does not affect to our breakage rate. Breakage rate never falls beyond this like this. It goes flattened in this, which is the concept of critical strength. You use critical strength based on this concept, then you can have minimum breakage or better loom set performance and minimum cost. Because if you want to increase your yarn strength beyond this point, you have to spend money. Yarn strength does not increase just like this. Yarn strength, when you want to increase the yarn strength, we have to spend money. We have to use better fiber, better process, or better treatment. Then only the strength will improve. But we don't need to do that beyond this point. Why to spend money beyond this point? That's why this is called critical strength. Try to understand concept of critical strength. We don't need very high strength. We need a critical point. We need to find out what is this critical point, so that beyond this point there is no further breakage. Normally, what level of strength is used in weaving? Warp tension is about 26 to 14 gram per thread in a range of weaving machine. But if you measure the strength of yarn, actually what we weave is almost starting from 150 to 200 gram. Whereas we are using only 26 gram, because maximum tension what we exert on a yarn during weaving is 26 gram only. So maybe for safer side, you add another 20%. Yarn strength we need is only 30 or 40 gram. That means tensile force exerted during weaving is only 20-25% of its original strength. So tensile strength is not very crucial as far as weaving is concerned. Loom speed, okay, it's 1 o'clock. I close it here. It's okay. Anybody can respond?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
I close it here. So next week we are meeting on Friday, not Tuesday. After that, I will take the class on every Tuesday. Only next week there will be no class on Tuesday. The class will be on Friday. Okay, thank you.
Okay, sir.